Alright, we good? We good? Yep, we're good. What is up, fam? What's up? Back with another one. Another beautiful Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out here. I hope you guys are hopping on. This one is chock full of game. This episode is going to be chock full of game. Let's get into it. This is episode 6. Episode 6 of Ether's World. We've been bouncing around, as of course, as y'all know, I'm always going to delve like straight into motivation and things that can keep our spirits uplifted. No matter what you may perceive me as doing right now, everything's always going to be based in spiritual growth. So even if we're on here talking about like today's episode, content creation, there's something within there or even a reason why I'm speaking on it. So those of you coming to the room, maybe this is exactly what you were trying to do and you happen to pop onto this video. So it's always going to be based in positivity, growth, whether it be in the spiritual realm or whether it's within the matrix and the 3D plane. We're going to be growing, y'all. This is what Ether's World is about. And I just basically spew out different facts, different points, different views from my perspective. My perspective is usually different. So it allows us to stretch our imaginations and stretch our minds and kind of think of things in a different way. And I challenge you to challenge me in the same way in the comment section. Do the same thing. If you have any perspective on whatever I'm talking about, whether it's aligning with my perspective or if it's something that's kind of, going or challenging my perspective, I definitely want that in the comment section. That's what Ether's World is about. It's about us really basically sitting down, having a forum, a place to just chat it up and get different insights, different views on different topics that are important to us today. So I'm not going to waste too much of your time. We are going to be talking about why you need to be creating content today. I mean, that's going to be the main topic. So if you're a personal brand, or if you're someone who is starting a business or selling any product, it's going to be very important that you get into the realm, the thought process of being someone that creates content. And we're going to delve a lot deeper into this. But the why. A lot of people, I believe, especially Jim Carrey said something interesting, and it was actually after the Oscars fiasco with Will, right? But he basically said, I just looked around and I knew this is a clear indication that we're no longer the cool kids. Now, that was very telling as far as what he's talking about. He's talking about Hollywood, that scene, getting on that particular way. It's kind of an old school way. And them no longer being the cool kids, just saying that we're seeing a transition. But within that transition, I believe a lot of us who were not Hollywood, who don't come from that world, we still perceive content creation as being quote unquote Hollywood. Even though I'm in my crib, a lot of people who see what I'm doing, they're going to perceive me as being someone who wants to be quote unquote Hollywood. But it's not that. It's the basic science and the fact. I'm not trying to say like, okay, it's Einstein proved this fact. No. What I'm saying is the reason why content is king is because content is king. And there's a particular reason. So it's not because of a celebrity thing. And you don't have to view yourself as a celebrity to begin to make content. So why? If it's not about celebrity, then why am I urging you, and why do people like me or anyone who's building a personal brand or selling something, why have they begun to make content? The why is because it allows you, your brand, whatever it is you do, it allows you to get to know your audience and build an audience the organic way. That's the important part. Organic. What is organic? When you're talking about fruit, vegetables, something that is organic versus GMO, that's really made up more so in a laboratory. Organic is something where I ate an apple, I took the seeds from the apple, and then I planted them, and then more apples grew. So it's organic growth. It's not anything that I had to really genetically engineer or socially engineer too much. Now, of course, there is social engineering that goes into gaining an organic crowd, organic audience, but we'll get into that a little deeper. I mean, in fact, we're going to get into that in my content creation course, because that's where I'm really going to be breaking down how to begin to build content on a consistent basis that is going to meld with not only your brand, so it will go with your brand, and it will also go along with your audience. And it's not anything that's pushing what you're doing down your audience's throat. I'm a rapper, and at the end of the day, like right now, I got a new song that's coming out on the 25th, y'all. On the 25th, this thing's dope. It's called You and I. It's dope. It's like a love, rap, ballad type of hip-hop song. Y'all get to hear me more, you'll know that I like doing that melodic love song type of mode. And I mean, I like the freak song type of modes. And of course, I'm in trap mode as well. And then lifestyle. Like, I like to give y'all a little bit of everything. But with that being said, it's very rare that you really see me pushing music. For one, not necessarily my fault, I hadn't had music to push. But even with this song that's coming out, I've put up one little clip of the song. And then it's been my regular schedule, pushing what I usually would push. Something like this, where I'm getting on doing my live, pushing my motivational clips that I do and I create through the week. So this is a way for you to not necessarily share your product. I mean, the way I be looking at social media, and then we're going to get to the intro, but the way I look at social media, and I was telling a buddy this, I've said this a couple times, is this thing's like the block. If you was ever a hustler or anything of that matter, you know about setting up territory. I don't care what it is. If you've hustled anything, like when I sold icy cups, I literally sold icy cups with a dude before. This job was the stuff. It was like being a kingpin of ices. You know what I mean? Dealing with big bread every day, and we had to set up territory. We had to go get permits, vending licenses. We had to bid on certain spots and set up our territory. So the internet is no different than the physical world. It's just where would you set up your territory, and there's different blocks that you can do it on. So you got your Spotify block for musicians. You got the SoundCloud block for musicians. You got YouTube block for musicians. Then you got the block that everyone's trying to get on and be the king of right now is TikTok. That's a whole block. Then as far as content creation goes, you got YouTube, the #1 block. That's the big one that everyone's trying to bully up. But then of course you got TikTok as well, another block. You got Facebook, that's a block. You got IG, that's a block. And certain blocks bump for certain things, just like in the hood. I mean, you got one block that's known for bud. Then you got another block that's known for something else. Then you got another block, you know, when you go down there, you can find this. And that's how, I mean, when you go to TikTok, you know, you can find the new dance moves or the new trending song. When you go to YouTube, you know, you can find a documentary style video on your favorite raps artists from the 90s in a long form. I mean, it's a different block, and it specializes in a different product. So that's how you guys start to think. So basically, when you begin to set up your block or blocks, like Monopoly, you don't got to just choose one. You know exactly what product or what form that product needs to be in on this specific block. So this is why. This is the why you should be creating content, because it allows you to set up a block, and that block is already something of interest. It's not necessarily pushing your product, but it's just letting people into your world. Your block becomes your world. You're letting people in, showing them your personality, and they begin to get to know you. Not your product, but necessarily you. And like I said, different blocks, there's different mediums for you to do that. So if I did want to push my music, the block that I would like hammer in on pushing music on is going to be the TikTok block. I mean, that's the block I'm going to use for that. Not to say I'm not going to show up and push my music anywhere else, but when it comes to heavy rotation, that would be the block. When I want to show my goofy side, TikTok as well, because they got the goofy filters, even Snapchat, you know what I mean? So, content, also, this is the second why. Content gets a fire started. before I was able to really put out music, I mean, let's say I dropped a couple songs in like 2016. It's a minute ago now. So that's 6 years ago, right? So, but literally, I dropped those songs as not even a Hail Mary. I didn't think anything would come of it because I've already studied, so I know exactly how this rolls. But I dropped them because I knew I wouldn't be putting no more music out for a long time. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have anything. I had my studio equipment, but I didn't have a computer. I wasn't in a situation to really get things rocking. So during a time span of maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, instead of me focusing on the music, because I couldn't do it, I was focusing on content. Putting out content, taking old songs, repurposing the songs. I shot a video to Life as a Civilian, which was a song I had did prior, but didn't have a video, never pushed it. So I was like, all right, let me do it. And I started working on this content thing because I understood that content gets the fire started organically. And then every other extra measure, whether it be paying for an influencer to do a dance to your song, or paying for someone to shout your new book out, or paying for someone to eat at your new restaurant, that's extra. That's the extra measure. That's the extra fuel on top of the fire. But the actual thing that can get your fire started is consistent content and good content. And the only way to get it good is to stay consistent, and you got to start somewhere. So all of this stuff comes from trial and error, and that's the biggest obstacle to being a content creator. But as we see, or as we will see as I continue, I'm going to give out good points on just why you definitely need to start, and there's no better time to start than today, because it does take time to build it. Tomorrow you're going to be a day later. It's one of them type things. So you could at least plan on what you would create. You feel me? Longest intro ever, but right after the intro, right after the theme song, we're going to get straight into all the reasons why you need to be creating content. So we'll get straight into it once we get back and after the intro song. Let's go. Jen Ether, Ether's World. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. I'm going live. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Right, I'm going live. Ether's World. Ether's World. Ether's World. Sit down with your girl. Ether's World. Ether's World. Ether's World. Sit down with your girl. Sit down with your girl and just relax. Just relax. Put it on the table while I'm showing y'all these stats. Facts. Stand tall, never laying on my back. No, damn, I spit the truth, and in the comments y'all react. Y'all react. Trending topics, we got options. We gon' learn and we gon' pop shit. All the shit that's going on around us, damn, it's never stopping. Give you what you want. No, I give you what you need. Sit down at the table, take a seat. It's time to eat. Yeah, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. I'm going live. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Yes, it is. It's a vibe. Right, I'm going live. Ether's World. Ether's World. Ether's World. Sit down with your girl. Ether's World. Yeah, that's me. Ether's World. Ether's World. What? Sit down with your girl. Go grab a drink. Get real comfy. Sit down. All right. I still love the theme song. Why? Because I don't listen to it. I only listen to it when y'all listen to it. So I always put the headphones on, at least one on, so I can hear that thing. When you jump inside the room or inside the chat, make sure y'all are saying what's up in the comment section. So I know you guys are in here. Feel free to join along in the conversation as well. What the heck? Okay. All right, seeing what's going on with my darn internet connection. Always something. All right, so let's get into it. So I gave you the reasons why, right? The reasons why. So this is the thing. And I was just watching my guy, Rob Level, on smartrapper.com. Smartrapper.com is a YouTube channel. Go check them out, especially if you're a rapper. But I be having even, like, people that ain't into rap because it's marketing. I tell them to check them out, too. Also, my guy, Dorian Group 82. And I'll be pushing his marketing course. I've learned a lot from him. So I'll have a link down in the description box and in the comment section for his marketing course as far as Dorian goes. He's one of the people that's definitely going to take you to the next level as far as being able to get playlist spots, chart on iTunes, all types of things. So Dorian's the guy, and help you get your content to the next level as well, right? So this is the thing. Shark Tank example. Shark Tank. Do y'all like Shark Tank? Most of you guys probably watch Shark Tank if you're an entrepreneur. If you're in the business world, you're a Shark Tanker. I can almost guarantee it, or at least you are, because I don't know how big it is now. Damon Johns is one of my guys. We'll probably touch on his book, The Power of Broke, a little bit in this. If I remember, it kind of goes hand in hand, so we'll see. But yeah, I may touch on Damon John's book. But yeah, so on Shark Tank, what do we see on Shark Tank, guys? We see individuals who have started a brand or who have basically produced some type of product, whether it's a food product like potato chips, or whether it's a new gym for dogs to work out at, or workout clothes for dogs. These are the types of things that we see on Shark Tank. So Shark Tank's the perfect example of how people organically grow a brand until other people deem that brand worthy enough to invest in. Now, when it comes to content creation, we see right now that all of these platforms are now beginning to invest money in their content creators. So we got the Reels program that's going on. I'm a member of that. I mean, just signed on, put my bank account information in. Hit me up if you want to know anything about that. I'll make a little video on it. But yeah, so we got the Reels program on IG and Facebook. TikTok's paying out. Yeah, I mean, YouTube's been paying. So we're seeing a lot of healthy competition that's really paying off for creatives in this space. So in Shark Tank, like I said, it's a perfect example of how people are organically growing a brand or product to the point where other people want to invest. When it comes to content, investing is a lot. You can invest time, you can invest money. So when it comes to our content that we create, what I would love is for you guys to invest your time into actually watching the content that I produce, right? And that's for any content creator. On Shark Tank, what they're going to the board for when they're talking to Kevin O'Leary and John, and I forget the other woman's name, I mean, and a host of other people that come on as far as guests go, Mark Cuban and all them. So when they're talking to them, what they want them to do is deem their product worthy enough for one of the sharks to then say, yeah, the numbers look good, you have enough attention on this, your profits look nice in comparison to the money you have invested into this. They're looking at how many other investors you have, because that's going to affect the amount that they can get on the back end as far as revenue share and all that. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. But basically what we're seeing is someone who really walked into Shark Tank's business or offices saying, listen, I've done all this work on my own. The people say they want it. And some don't have that. I mean, we see other brands where they have not reached certain milestones, basically to where the sharks don't feel like they want to invest, where they're saying, no, we don't think this is worthy to invest in. So let's take it to the rapper example. I'm going to use that as an example because I think it's one of the best examples. We've seen definitely a huge paradigm shift when it comes to musicians, indie rappers, and how a huge paradigm shift when it and how they approach getting into the game, right? Into the music industry. Back in the forever, you got Discover. Back in the forever ago, you got Discover. Up until recently with the advent of the internet and all this, right? So people were out there doing whatever they could, selling their tapes, but a lot of people were going straight to New York trying to like knock on the door of record executives and just rap for them to get that shot. But now the way the industry's been set up, not because of anything that the industry wanted to happen, but the internet's taken over, so you don't have to go to the execs. Now the execs come to you. Why do the execs come to you? Because they're seeing certain artists have a certain amount of attention on them where they deem it valuable. Like, oh shit, well, they're seeing the numbers. Like, okay, your Spotify numbers are already, you got a nice fire started on your Spotify numbers, or you got a nice fire started on your SoundCloud, or you got a nice fire started anywhere on your TikTok. You have people that are interested, but this is based upon that particular artist or whoever it is. You got a nice fire started around that cooking mitt that you invented. But this is from that person going out, shaking the hands, kissing the babies, talking to people that would be interested in this cooking mitt, going to the restaurants and doing demos. I mean, or this is back in the day. That's what someone who invented a cooking mitt would have to do. Go to restaurants, book meetings, and do demonstrations of this cooking mitt, showing them pull stuff out of scalding hot ovens. Look, you won't burn, and then see if they want to order them. Right? But now what you can do is create that same video on YouTube and actually tag these different industries. So now if you got the cooking mitt, you can literally make the same demonstration video from your house or from wherever you want to do it to make it look cool. Slap a cool title on that video. What the cooking industry needs right now, something like that. And start sending the Gordon Ramsay, Food Network, this, that, whoever does anything in this, Dish Network, whatever, right? So this is the type of thing, something that's going to, all the little local restaurants, from the pizza shops to the clubs to this and that. I mean, but this is what's going to begin to put some fire on your product. Now, once everyone in your region, the tri-state area, has now bought an oven mitt from you, you can present it, or someone else may catch wind, because that's really what is going on now. Now, the guy in Philly who owns the restaurant, who did the $100 Philly cheesesteak, he caught wind of your oven mitt from one of his buddies who does a restaurant in Pittsburgh, and it's word of mouth. It starts spreading to the point now bigger people are hearing about it, and they're like, listen, we want to come in and make you an offer on that oven mitt, or whatever it may be. We want to partner with you, and so you can basically expand this business. You're only able to create 1,000 oven mitts right now. We want to take it up to 30,000 oven mitts first order and get these out here on the market, right? That's what Shark Tank's all about, and that's how you need to be looking at your brand. It's something that is scalable. Right now, it's just you as an individual. You have an idea, you have a product, or you have something. My product is music. So you have something that you want to get out to the world, but you need a way to shine your light upon it. The best way to do that is definitely by creating content. So, in my opinion, first of all, when you first get into creating content, and this is anything, y'all, anything that you get into, especially today, there is a huge get rich quick aspect to damn near everything. I don't care if it's Bitcoin, if it's the stock market, if it's YouTube, content creation, NFTs. All of those things that I named have that get rich quick thing. But then there's also like reality to it, where it's like, okay, once you can get past the smoke and the mirrors of the get rich quickie scheme of it all, you can find some validity in all of them and really make some profits and maneuver. So the reason why I bring that up is, it's kind of the perfect example how I lumped them all together, is content is very, very similar to stocks and shares. But the value of content, of your content, is just like the value of Nike. Let's say when Nike first went public on, the stock market, They first did their IPO, sold their shares, went public. And then the owner, the whole company, everyone just started slacking. Like, we ain't really going to do, we did our job. We ain't really going to do nothing else. We're just going to let this thing tank. So then the shoe creation got worse. No new ideas are happening. This is not what happened, but I'm just saying in theory. Let's say that this is what Nike decided to do when they went public. So now everything tanks. Nothing's being created at a high quality. No one's caring anymore. So now the people who once believed in Nike ain't believing in Nike. The people who once bought Nike wouldn't buy Nike now. So you are like Nike. You're a product that is trying to become Nike. You're trying to go public. You want everyone to know who you are, not because of the fame aspect of it, but because you understand the value in it, the value proposition of making your brand recognizable to other potential buyers, period. That's all it is. So from there, the reason why it's very important to understand it's not an overnight success, and that's with anything you do, is because you need to be able to have the steadfastness to get through the tough times. Yeah, I mean, I've been creating content since literally like 2016, and I'm just now literally starting to see a consistent amount of numbers. And it's not huge numbers. Like, when I first got into it, I'm like, yeah, like, if you were told me 6 years from now, I would be just now reaching the point where I'm getting IG posts that go past 10 and 50K consistently, like at least once a week, or once every 2 weeks I can get something to go pretty viral. But if you would have told me it would have took me 6 years to get to that point, I might not even did this in the first place. Like, damn, 6 years for that? I mean, but it does take a certain steadfastness, and through that steadfastness, is not for nothing, because you're learning different techniques. So I'm not the same content creator, I mean, via even this podcast setup. Like, I didn't know anything about setting up. I was calling massive stuff a podcast, but I didn't know how to set up the actual format to a podcast. I just knew podcast was an audio form, so if you do anything audio, it is a podcast. But I didn't know how to set up the podcast and go live, with the software. So you see my growth through the process, and that's what all of this is about. It's about being able to hang in there, being steadfast, and learn. And it's like, no matter how long it may take you to reach whatever numbers you deem to be your numbers, during that process, you're going to be picking up so many gems, so many lessons. That's how I can really, literally make a content creation course now through this. Because I've learned so much that now I can give back. I can make courses, I can make videos, teach and gain. So that's first thing first. It does take time. And it's not the same amount of time for everyone. So everyone has their own journey. For some people, it could take a month. Some people, it's their first video. It depends on what it is, what your niche is. And, the Most High, what your actual purpose is, how your plan is, how your design is worked out. I can't figure that out. It's like no one could have figured that out for me. No one could have told me it's going to take you 6 years, and no one could have told me it's going to take you 2 months. It was just up for me to actually go through the steps to figure that out. So, content creation or content is like stocks and shares. They can grow. The value of your content can grow over time. We got big examples, but first let's give out all the examples of what content is. We got movies, whether they're big movies or, smaller movies, Sundance or whatever, independent films. We got books. We got television shows. We got songs and whole music catalogs filled with music, right? We got social media videos, and we got written blog posts, and then even written physical, because the newspaper, magazines, all that's still around. All of these things are forms of content. Now, when I say that content is like stocks and it can grow over time, what I mean by that is there are going to be, let me just get down to examples. Let me just use an example from the movie list. I'm probably going to post a short too, where someone who gave a great synopsis on the scenario. I'll post a little clip because the thing's like an hour long. I'll try to post the whole video actually in the comment section so you guys can watch it. But Willy Wonka movie. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate. First of all, it was a book. I read this book, I want to say in the 5th grade they had us read Willy Wonka. No, and it's funny because I remember this. You know how you'll remember things, but you kind of get thrown when things get changed. But actually in the documentary, they reminded me the actual book that I read is not called, like the original book is not called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And that always made sense. And I think I've always been a little thrown by the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory thing. In the first, I'm not thrown enough to mention it, but a little like, wait a minute, wasn't it called something else? Because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory just kind of has a ring to it. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, it does too. It does too. But anyway, the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm not even sure how the book did, to tell you the truth. I don't think it did bad, though. I think the book did well because I was reading it in the 6th grade. So I want to say it was a book that did well. Now, look it up, when they decided to remake the book and basically rename it Willy Wonka, there was a lot to it. A lot of things got changed from the book version, as, you know, they do sometimes. But they really changed more. Like, when you go read the Harry Potter books, the whole magic behind, and this is before I started reading them, but I remember people saying this about the movies, like, yo, they did it just like the book. How did they do that? Like, that was the big thing. So with the Charlie Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, they made, like, you know, they did like an adaptation. It wasn't the same. It had a lot of the same themes. A lot of stuff was the same, but then a lot of stuff was drastically changed. So anyway, when the movie releases, it bombs. It bombs. Now, for me to tell you that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory bombed in theaters, that would probably be surprising to you. I was surprised by that because I'm like, how did that bomb? It's a classic. Everyone loves this movie. If you have kids, you showed your kids the old one and then now the new one with Johnny Depp. It's just a fact. I mean, we grew up on that movie. So I was shocked to hear that it bombed. Now, guess what happened? Now, remember what I said. Movies, books, TV shows, songs, social media videos, written posts, articles, all that, magazines, all of this is considered content. So Willy Wonka, yeah, it's a movie that we all love, but in its essence, it's just a piece of content. That's all it is. It's a piece of content for someone's mind. They put it out there. That piece of content did not do well. Then, later on, I believe they said in the 80s, might have been the 70s, television networks started buying the rights to different movies and started putting these movies on air for television showings. Before this happened, you literally had to wait for a movie to be re-released in theaters, which sounds crazy. I'm older. I'm not old, but I remember certain things. You know what I mean? And that sounds crazy to me. Like, yo, why would I ever go back to the movie? I would have had to literally miss that movie. Like, only way I'm going to go see, maybe, I could see it with something like a Star Wars, something like that. But they were doing like re-releases on like Snow White. Like, I'm not going back to the theater for maybe in that time. But anyway, I'm getting beside myself. So anyway, the whole point is that the only way you could go see a movie that had been released after the release date, after it was done in theaters, was by going to go back to the theater. And you had to wait for the production, the people, you know, that the media house to want to re-release the movie in theaters. So basically, there was no such thing as home videos, home movies. Yeah, I mean, that didn't exist. So it wasn't until they started actually putting the movies on television that you could see movies that you didn't see in the theater. They would come on evening television on CBS or some other channel like that, and you could watch them as a family. And that, my friends, that act is what blew up Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. From there, it went on and just kept rising. I think in the 70s it blew up. I think it had another resurgence in like the 80s. Probably around my era when they had us all reading the books, because it must have been a mandated curriculum, at least for my area. So it probably had another surge then in the 90s, all the way up until, it's doing well in popularity when they decide to do a remake, a recreate of it. So that's how you get Johnny Depp, because they looked at it like, okay, this thing, people love this. Let's do it again. So we're talking about a failed piece of content. It failed. It bombed. It didn't do good. No one liked it. They didn't like it. So it's something that failed initially. Years later, goes on to make everyone involved millions, probably even billions at this point. So that's just an example of your content being stocked. Now, I know y'all listening to me like, yo, why do you be giving us these like astronomical examples like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Ether? For real, Jen? Really? You think I mean, so I understand. But what I'm trying to say is, let's break it down to a more macro scale. Something that's more doable, more livable, more relatable to us, right? Let's look at it on a social media scale. And this is what I've been doing. Now, we talked about music. Music has a catalog. Your catalog is built. Streaming or content creation is the same thing. Once you begin to create content from the first piece of content, let's say you start today. Today is June 19th. So you start today, June 19th. You put out your first video. You do a video once a week. So for the next 52 weeks, by the time next year comes, you have 52 videos in the cut. Let's say each of those videos averages, I'm about to lowball y'all. I've done great. I've had moments. So let me be fair. Let's say each of those videos, your first year averages you about 1,000 to 2,000 views. Let's say you was like, damn, man, after a whole year, I would have thought I'd at least be at the 20,000 mark for each video. But what I'm telling to you now is you have 52. You got 52 of those things. Nipsey Hussle said it best. He's a great example of this. And he's a little bit more relatable than Willy Wonka is as well. What he was saying is you want to build your world. You want to create a world. You want to give them a space to come into. So what a lot of us want to happen when we do anything, when we put a new product out, when I release a new song, when I release this, what we want is for it to just blow up, take off to the moon. Wow, everyone loves it. But what we don't understand is that could be the worst thing to ever happen. But to put in a whole year and end up with 52 videos. Now let's say the 64th video, the 62nd video, that's the one that takes off. This is what people will do now. That 62nd video took off. Now they're going to be curious. They're going to go through your other videos. What happens if it was your first video that took off? Oh, I really like this person. Let me go see what else Damn, wow. Oh, I'm disappointed. And now, unless you're someone that's really, and that's really the thing, you want to be able to have that backlog. Like at the end of the day, I got like 200 videos on YouTube. So whenever my thing takes off, I got so many videos everywhere on every platform. I might have 100 something here, 200 YouTube, 150 there, 100, you know what I mean? So whatever platform I take off on, wherever it shakes at for me, there is a lot of content. You can delve directly into the world of Jen Ether and see exactly how I think, how I maneuver, what my views are on certain things, and start to become a true, I don't really like using the word fan, but that's what we would say, I guess, a true fan or a true supporter, right? So, like I said, if video 1 takes off, they just go look and they got nothing. If video 10 takes off, that's better than video 1 taking off. But if video 10 takes off, you're still in the same boat. They got you 10 videos. Let's say your videos are 2 minutes long, 10 minutes long, or they're an hour long. I try to make my lives about an hour long. Where we at now? I'm at 40 minutes. So about an hour long. If they're an hour long and you got 10 of them things, you only got 10 hours. So in 2 days, they're done with you. Unless you were to drop it. Now, if you're consistent, you can keep up with that. But now it's a harder task for you to have to keep up with the appetite of your audience. Instead of being someone who, your 60-second video blew up. So you don't got to keep up with the appetite of your audience. You got so much content that they're just rolling through. And then as you're creating, you're adding on to the back end. So yeah, there's things like stocks. The more you make, the more valuable they become. And it only takes one video to hit for your whole catalog. In the stock world, it's called a portfolio. So when I buy Apples, shares in Apples, when I buy shares in Snap, when I buy shares in whatever it is, Microsoft, all of those shares get put into my portfolio. And the more of those shares that I buy, the more value my portfolio holds, especially when they're all performing good. But even if they're performing bad, my portfolio will still hold value because I own something, right? So that's the same thing with my videos or with your videos. Whatever you have inside of your portfolio, inside of your catalog, that is something that you own. Even if they're all worth $0, it's still shares. And then it takes one of those shares to hit. And that can potentially blow up 50 to 80 to 90% of your other catalog. Especially if you were someone that kind of stayed on brand. What I would also suggest, like for me, I playlist everything because I'm not great with staying on brand. I'll talk about rapping. I'll do some skateboarding stuff. Then I'll flip tarot cards. So for me, I have playlists. I got tarot readings, general readings. Then I got like jumping off the porch, Ether's World. You know what I mean? So that way, when you go through, you can find what you're looking for. So at the end of the day, TV shows, Power, that's another one where Power had a very slow start. But look at Power today. And if Stars would have gave up on Power, or if the writers would have gave up on Power, or if the actors would have gave up on Power, because Amari Hardwick, there's been a post going around, he was on the show The Pivot, which got my boy, Ryan Clark. Yeah, man, it's Pittsburgh Steelers, baby. One of the best to ever do it. Free safety. But he was a G, He was nice with it. Nice with it. Shout out to Ryan Clark. A couple other gentlemen I don't know too well, so I gotta get into them, but go check out The Pivot. It's a dope show. But Amari Hardwick, he's an ex-football player, played in college, tried out for, I'm not sure how many teams, but I know he tried out for NFL. So he's cool with football players, you know what I mean? Which is super cool. That's super dope to know. So anyway, he was disclosing on the show. Actually, they asked him, and Ryan, he actually guessed it. So he was saying that when he ended Power, he was getting paid $150,000 an episode, which is great bread. But like he said, but I brought back the whole damn network. I was the star of the network. So he was basically saying, like, yeah, 150 is good money, but if you go do the research on other stars of the net, like, for instance, Heisenberg, Bryan Cranston was probably making more than 150 an episode for Breaking Bad. He might have been at 150 episode season 2, season 3. But by the time they ended that thing, by the time his run was over, he was probably at 3, 4, 5, maybe, we don't know, maybe $1 million. He could have been there. Breaking Bad was a bad boy, you feel me? So, just watched El Camino this week. I'm still charged, I might watch it again. But anyway, so, basically what he was saying is, I could have got paid more, but look at from its slow, humble beginnings to what's going on now. And at the end of the day, he wasn't, this is not to, I like to be very careful what I say on the podcast, because I know others do watch it, especially when I cut these clips up. So this was not Amari trashing. He understands that time was content that he put out. And even though, he didn't get paid what he felt he should have got paid because of his position and what he did for the network, but he understands that his stock as a content creator, as being someone that's been in quality content, has gone up tremendously. And we also understand that from the humble beginnings of Power, even with the lower budget, even when you look at the costumes, everything that they're wearing is not like what it is now with Tariq and them. You know what I mean? So we're seeing what happened with the show blowing up. So anyone that wants to watch Tariq, Tommy's, Kanan's show, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to go back to the original Power because they have to. It's any trilogy. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and the same thing goes for social media, written blog posts. If you got some heat and it starts to pick up, people will then begin to go into the back catalog. That's why with the music, like I haven't really been rushing anything. I've really just been worried about building up a strong catalog of music. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not even really releasing. I'm just creating, baby. Because I know what it is. Like, nah, just create quality. So when you release, you can release in abundance to have that catalog. So when you hit, I mean, they can really delve in. It's not just like, oh, you only got this one thing that's banging. Like, no, I got several. I got it styled and crafted this. Yeah, I mean, period. So content in this way is definitely just like stocks. The value can grow over time. It's dependent upon you, though. Same, like I said, with the example of Nike. If Nike say to hell with it, we're not going to be innovative. We're not going to reach out to celebrities. We're going to stop doing everything that made us successful and just fall back and say to hell with it. Then they're not going to have investors, right? Their stock's going to plummet. No one's going to want to buy. Same thing with you. If you're not on it, you're not creating content, you're not constantly in people's faces, giving them a reason to watch, giving them a reason to support you, then why should they support you? And that's just how it goes. You know what I mean? Okay, so another huge reason why you should definitely be creating content is because it allows you to tell your own story. Especially in a world of social media, in a world of, I don't want to call them half-truths, but yeah, half-truths. Like, for instance, I could tell half-truth just by the setup of social media is so, what am I trying to call it? It's not long form. You know what I mean? If you were to write a damn book, no one would want to read it, but it's very short and quick. So if I be like, oh, great day, feeling good today, that's very wide open. You know what I mean? There could be, I'm sure there might have been something that went wrong, but I don't have the nuance or the time to really get nuanced with you on my full-fledged, yeah, I mean, day. So when you open up and you start to go live and you're doing longer forms of content, and this is definitely shout out to Dorian Group 82. You said me feeling a little bad about it because I would do lives. For one, when I was doing them, I would do tarot. And when you're doing live with tarot, it's not as much interacting. You're interacting, of course, but you're also, you got the cards as a huge blockade as well. And you're interacting with a lot. You're interacting with spirit. You're interacting with pulling the cards. You're interacting with people in the comments. So it's a little different. But this one-on-one interaction where I'm just specifically speaking to you, you know, it's a different feel. I think they all have something to be said about them in a positive way, but this is different. So I would say, yeah, once you're starting to really go live and go on for a half hour, go on for an hour, that's where people really get a sense of who you are as a human being, not just little snippets of your life that you put in a post, right? So you could tell your own story, and it's not only just a tool for branding. Yeah, that's what we focused on. We focused on the branding because I do want y'all to understand that this is just a great way to get what you want. I mean, if you want to sell your products, then to brand yourself on social media, that's the way to do it. But this is also, look at it as today's form of a time capsule. Like for me, I've been going through my mind really reminiscing about times with my grandma. Now my grandma, she's still on the planet. Lord rest, you know, she's still here with us. So she's doing good. And this is, I want to say, who brought this up? I want to say Gary Vee made this point. Years, probably when this is actually one of the things that made me really be like, yeah, that's true. I'm on this. But it's not only a way for you to tell your own story to others who may potentially want to, buy from you or support you, but it's a way for you to tell your story to the next generation of your family members, to your kids, to your kids' kids, to your great grandkids. Like, imagine, just sit here for a second, think about your grandma. At whatever age your grandma is, just see her in your face, right? See her in your mind's eye. And now imagine if you would have gotten a chance to watch one of her videos or 100 of her videos when she was in her 20s, popping off, talking about, how she felt about the world and how it stood in that time. Like, that's timeless. And I feel like it's something that we don't really take into account. Like, a lot of times when we get so inundated with new technology and we're almost damn near numb to it now. Like, a lot of us have, like I said, like, I'm a millennial. So, grew up on Nintendo, I grew up on the apex of technology, basically in the technological boom. So, it can allow you to kind of be a little numb and even unappreciative, or not understand the advantages that we have with something like this being around for us to take advantage of. So yeah, this is definitely a tool for you to really be able to allow your future generations to know exactly what you were about. And even when I speak on the spiritual sense, I always speak about this. Like, first of all, you change spiritually. So even if I was to go back and watch some videos of me when I first started, there's going to be so much that I'm going to notice, not just what I'm talking about, but just even the spirit inside of me is going to be like, damn, not to say it would have been a bad change or a good change, but we are always evolving. So to have that evolution basically put down is definitely priceless, and it's something that your future generations can learn from. So at the end of the day, we're about done with this, y'all. If you're trying to build customers, and your brand relates to a specific niche, then you can begin to build content around that niche. And you could be like, for me, it's music. Music is so damn universal, so I have a lot of leeway with my content, y'all. Like, everyone knows I'm into the spirituality. Everyone knows I'm into the motivation. So I can kind of lean and wiggle in and out of that. Then, as far as using my music, and then I like to dance and perform. So these are a lot of things that I can do. That's why I said I'm everywhere with it, right? But at the end of the day, whatever you do, like I said, let's take it back to the block. If you walked outside, and I've said this years ago in one of my posts, if you walked outside and every corner, every new block you got to, there was someone like, poof, what do you want? You know what I mean? Like, that's like the genie. Poof, what do you want? Poof, what do you want? What if someone was like, poof, yo, I got this. Yo, I got these for sale. Yo, I got that for sale. Yo, I got these for sale. That's how we come across. You know what I mean? When we choose to push product all day, every day online. But when you choose to create content that just surrounds around a particular group of people that will like your product, that's different. So, example. This is a good one. Now, music, like I said, men like music, women like music, kids like music. So I have a lot of different space. I could literally do a video with Elmo dancing to one of my songs and then market it to all kids for that. And then I could take that same song and then do something with a basketball player, market it to men the ages 20. Yeah, So music just puts you at a realm where you can everyone loves music. But let's say I was doing razor blades, and then we're going to do another example, like a real life example. So razor blades, men who are shaving are of a certain age. Most of them are going to be in the sports. There's just certain things. That's why you really got to look at yourself as an ad company and begin to reverse engineer and notice, like, why do they show this ad? Why on football Sunday, when it cuts the commercial, we have a Gillette commercial, we have a Kingsford lighting fluid commercial, and we got a Ford truck commercial, then it goes right back to the football game. And then why, when I'm watching SpongeBob with my kid, there, when it cuts the commercial, they have the new Barbie toy house, and then they have the new, bike. You feel me? So we have to start definitely reverse engineering and seeing how we're even being marketed to understand how this works. So there's an example, company Blendtec. Basically, this company, they're a blender company. They needed help finding customers. Blenders, as you would think, maybe not be the easiest thing to market. Maybe not a million people getting just so hyped up about a blender. But there are people, you just got to find them, right? That's why I learned in sales. Like, I knock doors as well. What I learned is, like, it's not always about forcing a sale on someone. A lot of times it's just about knocking enough doors until you find the qualifying person. So that's what Blendtec's whole thing was. Their whole blockage and their trial was just basically trying to find people that qualified to want to buy their blender. And what they began to do was blending up unusual objects. I think one of the objects was an iPhone. I think they blended up a cinder block. So they started doing weird stuff. It got to the point where Blendtec started taking requests. I believe they were doing videos. People sending requests of things they wanted to see this blender blend up. And that was the thing that started the fire. And once that happened, Blendtec blew up. So it's not that they were necessarily pushing their product. I don't even, from my recollection, I don't think this was like even a commercial ad. I think this was literally just like, hey, look at what this blender can do. And it maybe, like, if I was to do something like that, I might put a link in the comments, but I might not even do that. So this was just a show of, look at this amazing blender. And then anyone who would be amazed by a blender or just want them to do something like, oh, like when you have stuff like this, a lot of times when you're building content, like I said, it makes you or your product more likable. So even someone that may not even necessarily been a supporter can become a supporter of your product once you have good content behind it, once they like you as a person or like your product as a brand. So someone may not even needed a blender, but just the fact that they sent in a message and said, hey, blend this iPhone, and they said, all right, we're taking this request for such and such. Or it could have been 10,000 people that said, we want to blend the iPhone. Like, we heard your request, we're blending the iPhone. That could make all those 10,000 people at least say, damn, I kind of want to bang with this company. Like, they heard me out, they did my request, it was fun watching it, I'm going to support. God darn it, I'm going to buy one. You feel me? So that's the power of content creation. It's really about you building a relationship, building a rapport with people that are in the niche that you're trying to service. The last thing is definitely always bring some type of service. Like that blender, that's a service. You know what I mean? Anything that can blend up something like that means it will have no problem blending up my fruits and my veggies if it can blend up an iPhone. So I'm providing you with a service. When I come on here and do talks about content creation, or even when we talked about bullying, it's still providing some type of a service. So this goes back to just not always pushing, but giving. Like, you don't always need to be trying to sell. A lot of times you can just come on with a full or with a whole heart just to have a message or just do something that's just simple, but it's not surrounded around a proposition. You feel me? Now, at the end of the day, I do have to ask you for a proposition. Definitely need you to hit that like button. Definitely need you to comment if you're in here. If not, you guys will catch it on the back end. As I keep going, this thing will grow. I'm definitely getting a little better with cutting up these clips, but I'm going to begin dropping more clips daily on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook from these long form talks that we have. So I enjoy y'all. I appreciate y'all, especially everyone who tuned in during the live. Anyone who even just dropped past for 1 second And I definitely appreciate all of you guys that are going to be tuning in the future. We'll be back for episode 6 to chop it up. Hope you appreciate this one. I'm out. Peace. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. I'm going live. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Right, I'm going live. Ether's world. Ether's world. Ether's world. Sit down with your girl. Ether's world. Ether's world. Ether's world. Sit down with your girl. Sit down with your girl and just relax. Just put it on the table while I'm showing y'all these stats. Facts. Stand tall, never laying on my back. No, then I spit the truth and in the comments y'all react. Y'all react. Trending topics, we got options. We gon' learn and we gon' pop shit. All the shit that's going on around this damn is never stopping. Give you what you want. No, I give you what you need. Sit down at the table, take a seat. It's time to eat. Yeah, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. I'm going live. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Yes, it is. It's a vibe. Right, I'm going